I'm not what you'd call a serious film critic. I don't have a library of knowledge regarding filmmaking. I've never seen Casablanca, but I am an avid fan of all things horror, and I've been watching horror movies my entire life, so I feel like I know what I'm talking about. I know a lot of you are stuck at home right now during quarantine, or you should be, and I needed something to watch while I was drawing, so I decided to say fuck it and watch all the horror movies on Netflix from A through Z. And I kept a little diary here so I wouldn't lose my mind. Some movies I will talk about more than others just because they're worth talking about or not worth talking about, but regardless, I will give a recommendation and rating to practically all of them. Now for the hypocrite disclaimer. I am not watching sequels that have required context if the original film is not on the platform, unless I have already seen it. This works under the assumption of someone smashing popcorn and Dr. Pepper while mindlessly scrolling through whatever shit Netflix has. And as you might have guessed, this is a lot of movies. Like at the D's, I'm already well past 50 movies here, so I may have to split these movies up into a lot of different parts. If you want them combined later on, just let me know in comments, please. So unfortunately, I already lied. I forgot that there's numbers before actual letters as far as movie titles are concerned. So we're starting with the numbers. Number one on the list is 13 Sins. It was a 5 out of 10. It was shot and directed fine. The story is about what you'd expect from the description, which is basically like a Saw clone where if you do good stuff, you get. If you do the stuff they ask you, you get money. If you don't, no, it's just awful stuff in general. Yeah, it seems like it's gonna go somewhere interesting because there's like a police investigation aspect, but that doesn't really go anywhere either. There's Ron Perlman in it, so that's cool, I guess. No, I wouldn't really recommend it unless you like these sort of Saw clone movies. Number two on the list is 14 Cameras. It's a sequel to 13 Cameras, and if you've seen the first one, or it's practically the exact same movie. There's a mild escape plot that isn't really expanded upon, and there's a dumbass shit ending. It can't seem to decide if they want this main antagonist to be funny and creepy or violent and creepy. It's like a 3 out of 10. I wouldn't really recommend it. It's pretty bad. Number 3 on our list is 1920, the first of many Bollywood horror movies on this list.
You know, Lisa, you're really lucky for me.
This is a Latin phrase, and it means you're dead.
It's kind of like Bollywood's Exorcist. Kind of. Clearly, there's a lot of love for either that movie or the genre. It's very competently shot and directed, except for a few CG portions. It wasn't really good as a horror movie, but it was fine as a movie. I would recommend it if you've never seen Bollywood movies, as it's on the far low end of theatrics and spectacle, so it's a good warm up. I'd give it a 6.5 out of 10, give it a look. Number 4 on our list is 2359. It's a Chinese horror movie about army recruits experiencing a haunting. It's pretty short at 80 minutes running time, which isn't really a bad thing, but there's not much happening either. Um, this is awkward, but there needed to be subtitles for some of the bad English. It was practically impossible to tell what they were saying. But yeah, other than that, it was very forgettable. But I didn't loathe it the whole time. 4 out of 10, I wouldn't recommend it. There's better Asian horror movies on here if you're into that sort of thing. Number 5 on our list is 47 Meters Down. I'm a little surprised that this movie had my heart pounding so much considering it's such a stupid plot. It's basically these two divers get stuck in a broken shark cage 47 meters down into the ocean, and there's a bunch of great white sharks surrounding them. It could have actually done with less sharks and been better as a more realistic escape movie. There's other scary things than sharks when you're trapped at the bottom of the ocean. Hell, it could have flipped the opposite way and made it have some sort of actual creature rather than sharks chasing them, considering the fact that sharks don't really care enough about people to begin with. Unfortunately, the idiocy of the characters was really frustrating, and that kind of brought it down for me. And also, I just didn't really care for the story. It was a 5 out of 10. If you're into this sort of thing, maybe watch it, but otherwise, I'd give it a pass. Number 6 on our list is another Bollywood horror, with the lovely title of 6 minus 5 equals 2. I cannot think of a worse title for a movie. Hey dude, have you gone and seen this Indian horror flick called 6 minus 5 equals 2? How the hell would you refer to this like a normal human being? Well, title aside, it's basically Indian Blair Witch. And I'm starting to see a pattern here. The characters were actually very likable. Unfortunately, Bollywood films are about as subtle as a plane crash. Any semblance of a story and character arcs were ruined by absolutely awful CG, stock sound effects, and a plot that was just not really finished. At least Blair Witch had the whole witch part. 4 out of 10, it's not the worst found footage I've ever seen, that's for sure. I mean, I don't think found footage is very good regardless, so maybe if you like found footage a lot, you'd like this more than I did. If that's the case, give it a look, but it's still pretty bad. Number 7 is, coincidentally, 708, which is another fucking Bollywood horror movie. Quick disclaimer, I am not racist. I have grown up with Bollywood movies my whole life. I am Indian. Don't bully me. Anyways, 708 was unfortunately very boring. It didn't have much going on. It had some interesting ideas, but it really needed just a 40-minute runtime instead of 2 damn hours. Basically, it's a possessed kid who somehow knows where missing dead people are buried. A lack of likable characters made it very difficult to attach to. 3 out of 10, give it a pass. Just pretty bad. Okay, now we are finally at the A's. Now strap in because there's a lot of movies here and there's not a lot of good ones. Number 8 on our list is A Haunted House. Unfortunately, this is a Wayans Brothers movie, so it's 100% what you'd expect.
The events that followed have never been explained.
How could someone so cute be so stink?
Yeah! I kicked you in your ghost balls!
How far are you gonna go to get this demon out? I'll do anything. What is this supposed to do?
This just got weird.
I'm not even going to explain this movie in any capacity. If you like their awful shit, then you'll like this. 3 out of 10, but even that's probably too high. Number 9 is a very special movie on this list. It's the first of a new category of film that I'm calling baffling. It's outside of good, it's outside of bad, it's just simply baffling. This movie is Aaviri. It has one of the best studio intros I've ever seen. Hell, this entire movie is a best of the worst candidate. Apparently, all you have to do to get rid of a demon is to give it cigarette burns. That must be what Father was doing. Anyways, there's too much to even unpack with this dumpster fire of a movie. If you let me, I can go on about this movie for about 30 minutes to an hour, I swear. Again, this is part of that baffling category that I brought up. And you'll know that within 10 minutes of watching this.
Hey, Akkenti. ఇప్పటిదాకా ఏతో ఫ్రూట్స్ పేర్లని చెప్పావుగా అయినా అక్క తెలుగు వర్డ్ ఇంగ్లీష్ వర్డ్ కాదు
రేముని నీకు ఒక ఫన్నీ ఆల్ఫాబెట్ సాంగ్ చూపిస్తాను చూడు అది చూస్తే నీకు బాగా నవ్వుతుంది చూడు
A for underwear, B for vegetables, C for seashore, D for telephone, E for idiot, F for police, for immediately, M for knicker, O for hospital.
అయితే నీకు ఇవాళ బ్రేక్ఫాస్ట్ లేదు What the hell?
Two out of 10 for the actual quality, 10 out of 10 for how much it made me laugh, but don't watch this movie unless you're a specific kind of person, and you know who you are. Number 10 on our list is Adrishya. It's kind of a reverse Sixth Sense sort of deal. Not good for a lot of miscellaneous low-budget Bollywood reasons. I don't really need to get into it. 2 out of 10, it's very boring. Just don't watch it. Number 11 on our list is Agyaat by Ram Gopal Varma, who has a lot of good movies. remember his name. I enjoyed this movie a lot. It kind of felt like a George Romero film. It's similar to Predator, but with a film crew, and it's kind of like meta, like Scream. It's again, this is also a monster movie. It follows 90% of that monster movie checklist, and after seeing the budget for some of the effects, I'm actually fine that it doesn't fill out that last gap, and you'll know what I mean if you watch it, which I recommend. Check it out. Characters were very clear and likable, the relationships were well done, and you did root for them, even the most hateable characters. It had some of the Bollywood cliches, but I'm convinced that they were done ironically, considering that this is about a film crew shooting a Bollywood movie. 7 out of 10, give it a look. Big nod to sound design for the creature. Didn't abuse stock sound effects for monsters like most movies do. It's more of a thriller like Predator, but again, mixed with some scream in it too. It's less of a scare, more of a thrill. Watch it. It's very good. Okay, just a quick note on this next number 12, A Haunting at Silver Falls. You can't find this on Netflix anymore. It's on Amazon Prime if you're interested. But the only reason I even went out of my way to watch this is because I have seen this movie. I had seen it at one point, and it's a prequel to a movie that is on a list, which is the next number. So I decided to just say, fuck it, and I'll watch it. Now that's out of the way, let's talk about number 12, A Haunting at Silver Falls. It's a not-so-horror movie about a girl haunted by ghost twins that aren't actually evil. Basically, she shows up into town, moves in with her aunt and uncle after her parents died. Some twins who were murdered by their father or something start haunting her, and they're not really like harming her or anything. It's like a Casper situation, and you can kind of guess where that goes from when you're watching the movie. It's got some twists, but they're pretty predictable, and they're not very interesting either. It's not even really that bad. It's just not worth remembering, and it's totally forgettable. 4 out of 10. And remember, if you want to watch this, it's on Amazon Prime if you have that, which I assume you do. Number 13 is A Haunting at Silver Falls, The Return. I can't even describe how jarring this sequel is. It's like, if you've ever seen the first Fast and the Furious movie, for example, you know that it's actually a decent movie. It's at least a decent movie. It's good, really. It's fine. It's interesting. It's got a cool plot, cool characters. And then you watch the sequel, Too Fast, Too Furious, and you're wondering what the hell happened. Everyone's like a caricature. There's again, yeah, it's just incredibly jarring. That's how this movie was. That's how The Return felt to me, except it wasn't nearly as entertaining. It's so bizarrely different and not good that it hurts to pay attention to. Basically, she has to go back to the falls after, spoiler alert, because first movie, her aunt that had committed the murders is now haunting other people so she can get back at the girl from the first movie, who I think it's a different actress, by the way. And it's just so fucking weird and badly directed. And yeah, also the effects somehow got worse. There's too much to discuss on how bad it is. Not even like funny bad. Just don't watch it. 2 out of 10. Number 14 is All Light Will End. Oh my god, this was a real stinker. It was really boring and bad. Basically, it's a writer who has to go back to her hometown for some reason. I can't even remember what the reason was. She goes back. Oh yeah, it's like a vacation sort of thing. She goes back with her ex-boyfriend and some friends. There's some horrible murders that happen there. There's some weird thing involving her mom, and you can kind of guess what happens just from like 30 minutes in. Also, the soundtrack was really annoying. I remember that specifically. Yeah, you can guess what happened from the very beginning, and that'd be fine if what happened itself was good. It's a 2 out of 10. Just pass. Complete pass. Number 15 is All the Boys Love Mandy Lane. It kind of reeks of a director huffing his own farts. It's a slasher, basically. It was well shot and composed, but there was nothing really interesting except a twist that didn't really make any sense or have a point. The basic plot is this girl called Mandy. She's like the girl next door. Everyone loves her, wants to, get in her cooter. And she gets invited to a party out on this barn. And people start dying left and right. There's a killer on the loose, and that's pretty much the movie. 4 out of 10, and not a very good slasher. Pass. Number 16 is Animus, and I'm ashamed to say that I skipped. I'm not really ashamed. It was boring. I skipped it. I skipped about 40 minutes in though, so I do have some stuff to say. It's got some interesting visuals, but it's really boring. It's a Spanish Netflix produced or something movie. I don't get very many of these skips, by the way, but I'm glad I use it here. I think the plot was something like this weird guy has this weird girl that's a friend, and he eventually gets interested in another girl, and they start dating, and new girl doesn't like girl that is a friend, and weird stuff starts happening. Not gonna rate it, but watch it if you like artsy Spanish stuff, I guess. Sorry. Number 17 is Antidote, and it's the second movie on our baffling list. Oh boy, the more I remember this movie, the more I laugh. It's like trying to be a bad B movie, kind of like those movies that those sci-fi originals that they have. There's incredibly confusing directing choices, particularly for the bald, muscly guys fight scenes. It just doesn't make sense. God, I don't know how to even describe it. I may have to just put in some clips.
There, you better hustle.
And where are you supposed to be?
The White Knight.
And you're willing to die for that girl?
I was gonna ask you the same question.
I think you're making a big mistake. You're making a big mistake.
I think you better pay attention.
It's a 4 out of 10. If you want to be really confused, watch it. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about the plot. Some disease starts spreading around that's supposedly from this urban legend lady, and there's something about the city of El Dorado in there too, and they're hunting for that along with a cure. I don't know, it was something like that. It was very, very weird. Again, it's kind of like a sci-fi original, but that's not a compliment. Watch it if you like these really terrible movies. If not, then there's a better use of time. Number 18 is Apollo 18. Another coincidence. I remember when this movie came out in theaters. I actually wanted to see it, but I also felt like, this can't be interesting, can it? And then I heard from other people that it wasn't, so I'm glad. But I watched it here anyways because I have to. It's just a dumb movie. It's basically these two guys go on Apollo 18, a supposed mission to the moon, and it's like a top secret mission too, so nobody knows about it. It tries to do one of those real life ARG things, I think. They get to the moon and they find some remains of Russian astronauts. Astronauts are like, oh, what the hell happened? Rock samples start moving. It turns out that there were aliens on the moon, and the aliens were rock spiders that burrow into you and give you a disease. Yeah. The stock sound effects were really unnecessary. I don't know why all these movies do that. It's not that hard to make your own sound effects. I've done it. I've literally went into my own garage with my friend and we filmed our own sound effects that we needed. Oh yeah, here's another thing. This is technically a found footage movie, I guess, because the whole movie you're looking through these really bad space cameras, and that's fine for maybe a 4-minute short film, but not for, over an hour. It gets really, really barfy and annoying. Don't bother. 4 out of 10. Number 19 is Apostle. This is a very interesting cult investigation kind of movie. Not real life cult, but that's the plot of the movie.
Thomas, your sister, she's gone. These people, they're blasphemers. A cult, a disease. Bring her home.
Name? Thomas Richardson.
I dream of a world in which each waking day we rise equal.
This island, it's our paradise. We have an intruder on our land. We have to find him.
Your eyes. They've seen things. Who are you?
Beware false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves.
This was a Netflix original that came out, I think a year or two ago. I watched it with my friend. It's really good. Well, it was really interesting. The main character is a former priest who is looking for his sister. He's told by somebody that his sister disappeared onto this island where this cult is, and he has to go find her. And him being a former man of God, I think it provides a cover for him. But yeah, he's like a former priest looking for his sister. The actor does a very good job of portraying that character. He's really cool. And the movie has some really weird and unique ideas that it does well. There were a few scary scenes, but it felt less like a horror and more like a dark fantasy mystery overall. I would definitely recommend it. 7.5 out of 10. Give it a look. Number 20 is As Above, So Below. This is another theater memory that I have.
My name is Scarlett Marlowe, and I'm a student in urban archaeology. 370 feet beneath this point is a hidden chamber that might contain a critical missing piece of our history.
How are we supposed to get down there?
Catacombs. There are 200 miles of tunnels right underneath our feet.
They're holding the remains of 6 million corpses.
Keep it slow and steady, yeah?
I think I'm stuck.
Just breathe with me, please. It's okay. What the hell is this?
When I was a kid, we had a piano that looked exactly like this. I used to play it all the time. The A4 key was messed up.
I actually had watched this in theaters before with some friends, and I remembered enjoying it a lot, but and I wasn't even gonna bother watching it again for this list, but because I remembered most of what happened. I looked it up and I saw that the scores were very low compared to my personal enjoyment at the time, so I figured, okay, maybe I'm misremembering this, and I just gave it another look. So I watched it again, and I still enjoyed it, but I also remembered the flaws that I didn't remember from that many years ago. The latter half of the movie becomes overly reliant on jump scares and corrupt camera work, and it's just not necessary. Some of the rules for what gets you killed in that movie don't make complete sense either. Regardless, it is one of the better found footage films that exist. It's a lot like a horror adventure, which we don't see very many of. That's the last horror adventure that I can think of was It Part 1 and 2, but those are remakes, so does that even count? Oh yeah, the plot. The plot is basically they're trying to find the Philosopher's Stone. I think the first half was very well done, and it had plenty of unique, creepy visuals that didn't really feel generic. It felt unique to the environment itself. It made good use of the environment. That's another point. 6.5 out of 10, but as a personal score, I would rate it higher, maybe like a 7.5. It's not much higher, but I enjoyed it. If you don't like found footage, do not watch, of course. But if you like the idea of a claustrophobic adventure that isn't all about ghosts or demons, check it out. It's pretty interesting. Number 21 is Assimilate. This kind of felt like a horror adventure too. It's basically like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Actually, it is Invasion of the Body Snatchers almost to a T. I like the leads and their characters, but I wish they did more with this web series idea they have going throughout the movie. The movie centers around these two friends in this town, and they're making a web series to show off like different aspects of the town. And I say web series, I mean it's just a bunch of YouTube videos. And then people start acting weird and different, and then they go, oh, and it's again basically Invasion of the Body Snatchers. The CG for the screams was really unnecessary. You'll know what I mean when I say that. But otherwise, it didn't really bother me that much, except the first instance that it happened. 6 out of 10, it was fine. I guess I'd recommend it if you like the concept. I wouldn't push it though. It's okay. Number 22 is Aurora. It's a Filipino horror movie. I feel very weird towards this film. It had a very drab, grayish blue filter over everything, which I usually hate. It's one of my least favorite trends of all movies that's ever existed. But I think it worked here. It very much fit the fishing hamlet that the whole film was centered in. Now, the film itself was basically about there's this really awful Titanic-esque wreck that happened to a cruise ship in the nearby ocean for this Filipino village. A whole lot of people died, and what ended up happening is that people are like everyone knows that their relatives or their friends or whatever are dead, but they don't have their corpses, they don't have their belongings, they can't make a funeral. What ends up happening is this young girl who has this shop is basically given a job to go and try to get other people's dead bodies so that they can close the missing files cases and have closure and have funerals and whatever. It was more of a sad movie than a scary movie, and the movie was kind of boring, but I did like the main character and her motivation enough to finish it. It had some really artsy shots. Nothing felt pretentious though. I suppose it's a horror, like I said before, but it's not really scary enough. Although there were a few really creepy visuals that I want to praise it for. It's also more sad than scary. 6 out of 10, but if you like the concept of a movie centered around a fishing hamlet and you just want to see a Filipino horror movie, then go for it. Number 23 and the last movie on the A's is Await Further Instructions. For some of these movies I made a little note, just as a prediction of my feelings before I even watched a movie, and then I later on leave it in so I can validate it or invalidate it. So what I wrote here was, haven't watched it yet, but I already know it's going to be shit. Okay, it was shit. It's sort of like a Saw clone. It's a little bit more interesting than that, I guess. Basically, this brother goes to visit, this son goes to visit his family with his new fancy Indian girlfriend, and his family is very, well, except with the exception of his mother, they're all either racist or unkind or unwelcoming or just straight up ignorant, I guess. And then they end up getting trapped in their house, and this is happening to people, and well, no, we don't actually know that yet. This is that they get trapped in their house, they're locked, the shutter comes down, and they get instructions on the TV telling them to do certain things. The dad's like, oh, we should follow it, it's the government, and the son's like, oh, we shouldn't follow it, we don't know who it is. And it's that sort of movie. You can tell where it goes. It was pretty shit. It was interesting in the middle and a little bit towards the beginning, but the characters were so cartoonily racist or over the top that I couldn't connect to anything that was happening. Oh, quick thing. The guy who plays that squib from Harry Potter, I forgot his name. I'll put his picture up. He's in this movie and he plays a racist grandpa. So there you go. Yeah, they were all they were so cartoonily racist or over the top that I couldn't connect anything, and I don't think you would be able to either. I feel bad about this. I normally love practical effects, but the wires at the end, there's a whole bunch of wires that they start manually moving, which is a lot of work, so I commend them for that. But it didn't look really cool. It just looked funny. Also, it was guilty of what every indie movie does, which was it had a really ham-fisted and obvious message. At least it was different for a Saw clone. 4 out of 10. I wouldn't recommend it. Maybe if you like these sort of movies, then you'd probably like this. But I don't, so it's just also not very good. Yeah, give it a pass. Okay, that'll be it for now. Thank you for watching this far. The next part is going to include the C's through the D's. Just 2 letters, but there's a whole lot of movies in them. I don't really know when it's going to come out. It's just going to take some time. By the way, sorry about breaking this entire series into parts, but there's just too many movies. If you want me to recombine them later, let me know. But any thoughts and criticisms regarding the video, please put in the comments. Still new to the movie review thing. And yeah, that'll be it. See you next time. Goodbye. Episode 2, coming next week. Please like the the comments, and share if you'd like more of this. Alright, I have to go before any more police sirens go off outside my apartment.